Bedtime story, The Good Samaritan. Good evening, my dear friend. What you hear before you sleep is very important because it can shape your thoughts and bring peace to your heart. Tonight, let's think about one of the most beautiful teachings of Jesus, the story of the Good Samaritan, found in the Gospel of Luke. One day, Jesus was speaking to a group of people, sharing his wisdom and love. Among them was a man who was an expert in the law. He stood up and asked Jesus a question, trying to test him. He said, "Teacher, what must I do to have eternal life?" Jesus, knowing what was in the man's heart, replied with a question of his own. "What is written in the law? How do you understand it?" The man answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus said. "Do this, and you will live." But the man wanted to make himself look good, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" To answer this, Jesus told a story, a parable. The parable of the Good Samaritan. There was once a man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, a dangerous road known for its steep paths and places where robbers often hid. As this man walked, he was attacked by robbers. They took his clothes, beat him badly, and left him half dead by the roadside. As he lay there, suffering and helpless, a priest happened to be walking down the same road. You might think that the priest would help him. But when he saw the injured man, he crossed to the other side of the road and walked away, avoiding him completely. Soon after, a Levite, another religious man, came to the same place and saw the man. But he too, just like the priest, passed by on the other side, leaving the hurt traveler in his pain. But then, a Samaritan came along. Now, it's important to know that Samaritans were often looked down upon by the Jews. They were seen as different, as outsiders. But when this Samaritan saw the injured man, he didn't hesitate. He was filled with compassion. The Samaritan went to the man, bandaged his wounds, and poured oil and wine on them to soothe and clean them. Then he lifted the man onto his own donkey and took him to an inn, where he took care of him. The next day, before he continued his journey, the Samaritan gave the innkeeper some money, 2 denarii, and said, "Look after him, and when I come back, I will pay you for any extra expenses you may have." After telling this story, Jesus turned to the expert in the law and asked, "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by robbers?" The man replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus then said, "Go and do the same." The meaning and lesson. This story teaches us that being a neighbor isn't just about living close to someone or sharing the same beliefs or culture. It's about showing love and kindness to anyone who needs help, no matter who they are or where they come from. Jesus used the Samaritan in this story to make a powerful point. Love goes beyond all boundaries, racial, religious, and social. True love and kindness aren't limited by our differences, but are shown through our actions. The Samaritan didn't see the injured man as a Jew or a stranger. He saw him as another human being who needed help. In our lives today, we are called to be like the Good Samaritan. We are encouraged to look beyond our prejudices and differences and to help those who are hurting or in need, even if they're different from us. Loving our neighbor means caring for those around us, not just in words, but in actions. When we see someone in need, whether they are close to us or far away, someone we know or someone we don't, we should remember the compassion of the Good Samaritan. It's not enough to just walk by or think that someone else will help. Jesus calls us to be the ones who act, to be the ones who show mercy. As you lie down to sleep tonight, may this story inspire you to open your heart to the world around you. May it remind you that every person you meet is your neighbor, and every kind thing you do is a reflection of God's love in you. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with